I said, well, I was just giving you a call because I know that I had to send Devin home, and I know that you and
Why are you
Jamala
calling
had
me
to.
about sending Devin home, though?
Listen, because you didn't even let me finish. I said,
I don't want to hear that, though.
Because I do have another connection that's strong. Who are you connecting with?
And that's not what we're here to talk about.
Don't even know who agreed to these dates unless the producers were just after drama, because allowing Caden to go somewhere and sit down and chat with Justice, or allowing Charisse and Ozo to sit down and have a conversation, was a recipe for disaster, because they're all confrontational, all argumentative, all very defensive. So nothing was going to be resolved. Even if Tommy had been there, he wouldn't have been able to stop this train wreck once it started going down the hill. Anyway, hey there, it's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Ready to Love, Season 7, Episode 5. So the season picks up from the White Party. Obviously, Ozo, LJ, and Justice are in the bottom three. And Tommy then lets them know that he's decided that no one will go home this time, but the guys need to put in some work and make sure that they make the changes that the ladies are asking for. The next morning, Tommy meets up with Ozo, LJ, and Justice and sort of has a conversation on the concerns that the ladies raised in regards to these three guys and why they're in the bottom three. LJ obviously is told, the ladies think you're not very serious and they think you're an island guy, you're too nice. And it's like, why would you criticize someone for being too nice? Why? Unless you're saying they're not being genuine with their niceness, it's just a front. But otherwise, even LJ himself said, I will always be an island guy. I can't do anything about that, but I will try and go deeper with the ladies. I thought checking up on them and keeping in constant touch, I was doing the right thing. But anyway, I'll take the advice on board. Justice was told, the ladies feel that you're not serious about this process. And I think it's because of the way that he comes across, as because he even agreed that he hasn't got any of the ladies' numbers. He's not making any plans outside of the group dates with anyone, and so he was told he needs to work on that. Um, Also, was told, the ladies feel you're very superficial. They want you to go in a bit deeper and be more genuine and sort of be more proactive. And so I get where the feedback was coming from, but I don't think Ozo or Justice are ready to laugh at the moment. The following day, Caden arranges a date, a group date at a go karting. So she invites Tronika, Jamala, Cherise, and then the guys in the bottom three. So that's LJ, Justice, and Ozo. And when I first saw the group, I was like, why? If you're going to have Caden in an event, you don't need Cherise. That's too much drama. Too much drama. Yeah, Jamala and Tronika are nicer and a bit mellow, but the other two are just too much drama. Anyway, they decided to start off with go karting, and Ozo, I think, needs work. He needs to do a lot of self-reflecting, and he needs to do a lot of work on himself first before he can bring someone into a relationship. Because even at the event, I think when he was told you need to be real, you need to be genuine, he should have asked Tommy, "What do you mean?" Because then on the track, he was busy speeding past the ladies, and he bumped into Tranika, who he knows is already having problems with her wrist, and she eventually took herself out of it because she said, "My wrist is already paining me, so I can't continue with this go karting thing because I don't want to cause any more trauma to my wrist." So then, after winning, God, it's sad. He knows he's dealing with ladies. He knows it's a date. It's not a competition. He doesn't need to brag like that. I don't think he needed to brag the way he was bragging to the ladies. Oh, I won. Oh, this, that, and that. And with his mask on, and it was just, "Oh, you're doing too much. It's too much. You need to slow down." Anyway, they then decide Charisse takes Ozo to go and play pool, and Caden decides to take Tronika with her and Justice because she wants Trinika to play mediator. And for me, I didn't like that. I could see disaster coming. Anyway, Trinika and Justice sit down, they have a conversation. Trinika brings up her grievance with Justice in the sense that you gave me your number, I called you, and you haven't kept in touch since then. And Justice is like, I don't have your number. And she was like, well, I sent you a DM and asking for your number. You sent me my number, I called you, and Justice went, well, I didn't save your number. And she was, what do you mean you didn't save my number? And you went, well, after the conversation, I didn't like the way the conversation went. And I don't remember whether this is the lady. Because I remember one of the guys said one of the ladies sent him a DM at midnight. So I don't know whether Caden was the one. And the conversation just went left. Because Caden, I think, doesn't know. She she ha- she has the same problem that also has, in the sense that she's not sort of able to disengage her work mode to a social mode. Because when she's talking to someone, it's like you're in an interview. It's like you're in a debate. It's not like you're two people trying to get to know one another in a romantic setting. So in the end, Tronika had to intervene and sort of say, some of the ladies feel that the way you talk to them or the way you behave, they don't like it. And I understand you, so I can relate to what you're saying. But the ladies are very sort of upset and sort of turned off by it. And you could see this is why it's important. I think Caden should have maybe explained to Tronika what her issue with justice was and got Tronika to speak on her behalf. Because as soon as Tronika started speaking to justice, you could see he mellowed down and sort of come down a couple of decimals. And so I think with justice, it's not that he comes across as very arrogant or very dismissive. I think it's just the way you approach him. If you approach him at a 10, he's going to come back at you at a 10. Whereas if you approach him at a lower pace, like a 5, he will come down to a 5, and you could see that happening. And then we have Ozo and Cherise. That was a recipe for disaster. Cherise says she called Ozo just because she wanted to have a conversation, because the last time she was in the bottom, she had to do some work. So she wanted to find out what work he was doing. And it's like, I don't think it's your place. I think maybe you should have had a conversation with him and just told him, this is my opinion. This is why I have an issue with this. Anyway, during their conversation, it then became personal, because they were sort of talking, and then suddenly also started shouting, you're fake, you're not genuine, you're fake. And Sharice then started, becoming tearful. Oh, I can't have a man shouting at me with a pool stick. And it's like, before he started shouting at you, he had the pool stick. You're both playing pool. Why make it seem like he wants to attack you with a pool stick? That's not fair, and that's not right. And it just went left field, because they both started yelling and screaming and shouting. And because of that, Caden had to run to them. And I think it was a relief for Justice, because he then got to mellow down and have a decent conversation with Tronika. LJ was busy go karting with Jamala. They seemed to be enjoying themselves. They weren't involved in the mess. They only came after they heard the loud noise that was going on, the ruckus that was going on between Charisse and Ozo. LJ came and tried to diffuse the situation. He was trying to pacify Sharice, and she was like, Sharice is busy yelling, he needs to go, he needs to go. And it's like, what do you mean he needs to go? Who are you? There are other ladies in the competition that also have a say in who stays and who goes. And I think LJ sort of pacifying her, and giving her water and sort of trying to smooth things down with her. I think it's the reason why she became too much. Hayden tried to pacify also, but that didn't work. I think at that point they should have just ended the date. I think they should have ended the date, because Ozo was now in his feelings, and this was bad for Ozo because he's already in the bottom. So the way he behaved was just as bad. LJ tried to sort of pacify Ozo. That didn't work. I couldn't even see Justice. I don't even know where Justice was. And the fact that Sharice was still seething and she was telling everyone, it's time for him to go, it's time for him to go. And it's like, I'm sorry, baby girl. You don't have a right to send anyone home. You can't say who's going home and who's not going home. Justice later came, but by that time, I think everything was diffused and everyone was ready to go home. So Shakira meets up with Tommy because she's upset that apparently the guys have told her that some of the girls have been sharing her story with them. And so she wasn't happy with it. And last week, obviously, Kaden sort of brought up her situation in front of Mike. And I think that's one of the things that hurt her the most. So she wanted to tell Tommy that this is where she was at, and she didn't feel it was fair for the girls to be sharing it with the guys without her permission. And she felt if it needed to be shared, then she should be the one who's sharing her story, and not for somebody else to do that on her behalf. So Tommy then excuses her from the ladies' meetup. And I think it's going to be a problem for Caden. I think next time the guys are voting, chances are they're going to vote her out just because she is too, as I said, I don't think she's ready to love. We then have Samson arrange her picnic. So he arranges a picnic with Mike, Brandy, and Looney. And it was cute because Looney hasn't, I don't think she spent time with Samson. I think Samson is a great guy. I think he's very reserved and very quiet, and that's why maybe we don't hear as much from him. Obviously, Mike and Brandy were busy feeding each other fruit, and it looked like Mike and Brandy were on their own date, and Looney and Samson were on their own date because at one point they had to say to Mike, we're here," and then in the end, Samson and Looney had to walk off. I think because they were like, "Oh my god." At any point, these people are going to be doing a bit too much on this mat. I like the fact that Looney was very caring. She kept patting down, you know, Samson's head when he became sweaty. They played with the frisbee. And I I know Looney gets on very well with LJ. I haven't really seen her in a couple of settings, but at least it was nice that she participated and she was taking part with the frisbee. And she really seems to be enjoying herself. And Samson appeared to be enjoying himself because they both removed themselves because they said the date was becoming too sensual. I think they both appreciated spending time with one another because they were able to see each other in a different light because they hadn't had the opportunity to spend time together. So I really liked this date for them. I liked how peaceful it was. There was no drama. There was nothing. Obviously, you know, obviously Mike and Brandy were in their own little world. Though they had a conversation about Brandy being an air hostess and how that would play out because Mike didn't like the idea of her constantly being away, and she sort of said she would pick up her schedule according to what he wants. If he says he wants to spend time with her, then that will be it. I like the connection between Brandy and Mike. I think that they from day one have sort of drawn to one another, and they really seem to be building something. And I hope that they actually do make it to the end because I think of all the couples, they are the most stable couple. I don't know whether it's just a sexual attraction or whatever, but every time the group meets up, they're always together. They're always sitting next to one another. Yeah, from time to time Mike will go and mix with the other ladies. I think because Brandy encourages him to do that because the ladies were unhappy with him last time and she doesn't want him sent home. But I think most of the time they spend together, which is nice. Enjoyed Tronika's date with LJ. I found that it was very sort of. I think most of the ladies get along with LJ. That's just the impression that I get. And because I initially wanted him with Shakira, if Shakira is not ready for him, then I would hope one of the other ladies would pick him, and I hope Tronika gives him more time. Just because Tronika is in that try square with Randall, I don't think she needs to be in the square. I think she needs to move out of the square and sort of come maybe closer to LJ. So they had a conversation about LJ's daughter. And this conversation was totally different from Ozo's conversation with Shakira, where I said Ozo was trying to appease the crowd. Here, Tranika was asking about his daughter. She was telling him, about how she grew up and how much of an important role her stepmom played in her life, which means that she's able to understand and empathize with the challenges that come with being a step parent and not only a step parent, but also being a child of divorce. So I really liked that date. I really liked that date. The ladies then meet up with Tommy, and sort of everyone is talking about what they've done in the past week. Brandy talks about her date with Mike and how Samson was teasing her, and how, he was saying there are other people when Mike was trying to feed her. And Tommy actually laughs and says, "Oh, Mike doesn't come across as someone who is sort of into picnics." And she went, "Oh, but it went very well." Kayla talks about her date with Randall and how that played out. When Brandy was talking about her date with Mike, you could see Kayla sort of got in her feelings because I think she also likes Mike. But then when Kayla started talking about Randall, Jamala then got in her feelings when Kayla said, "Oh yes, we did share a kiss," and it's like, "Oh, this is a bit messy because everyone is dating everyone, so this is going to be difficult. This is going to be difficult. I don't know how that will play out." And then Sharice brings up the incident with Ozo and how that played out and how she was unhappy with it. Um, Tronika talks about her date with LJ and how she really enjoyed her date with LJ. And I think most of the ladies were impressed with LJ, so they were happy with that. And they then agree on their bottom two, which is Ozo and Justice. And so The ladies, after naming their bottom two, it's agreed that Tranika will meet with Justice, and it did make sense because Tranika and Justice seemed to get along very well, and also would meet up with Brandy. And Brandy was open-minded because she said, "I wasn't there when things fell apart with Cherise, so I'm happy to go and see him and have a conversation and find out what's happened." Um, Ozo didn't turn up. Ozo did not turn up for the meetup, despite Brandy waiting for an hour. He wouldn't pick up his calls, which was really sad. And I like how Tranika was very sort of mellow and how she made sure she got her message across to Justice that he needed to make the changes if he yeah to remain on the journey to find love. And I think he is going to take it seriously. I wish Justice could sort of move away from people like Brandy and Charisse, and maybe focus on Looney, Tranika. I know Brandy is in that sort of relationship with Mike, and I think he might actually be surprised, especially Tranika. Tranika comes across as very caring and very compassionate and very understanding. I wish Justice would pay more attention to her and be able to turn her head away from the Randall Square. But anyway, I digress. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye, everyone.